Advanced English Arabic Learning Irregular Verbs, Session 04. Clothe, clad/clothed, clad/clothed. They already had 8 children to feed and clothe. The executive order was a way to clothe the president with additional powers. There are many forests which clothe the slopes of the plateau. You might want to clothe your little girl in cute dresses. We clothe our thoughts in words. He can barely feed and clothe. He cannot clothe us all. She reclines on an Afghan rug while clad in a red two-piece. He clothed himself in his best clothes. He cladded the concrete frame structure in stainless steel. They were clad in t-shirts and shorts. It is better to be clothed in rags, than to be clothed with shame. The whole forest was already clothed in green. Francesca was clothed in white. Cleave, clove/cleft/cleaved, cloven/cleft/cleaved. He cleaves wood for the fire. They watched a coot cleave the smooth water. The egg cleaves to form a mulberry-shaped cluster of cells. Rose's mouth was dry, her tongue cleaving to the roof of her mouth. Part of why we cleave to sports is that excellence is so measurable. It was his choice to cleave to the Brownings. They just cleave the stone along the cracks. People in the remote mountain villages still cleave to their old traditions. The killer used a chainsaw to cleave his victims in half. The laser will quickly cleave the stone into 2 pieces. He is instructed to cleave to his wife. He continued to cleave to the beliefs of his childhood. The ancient ivy cleaved to the ruined castle walls. Impetuously clove its way. He cleaved a block of wood in 2. His every word cleft her soul like a scimitar. Eagles cleaved the sky. Her tongue clove to the roof of her mouth. She cleaved his skull with an axe. The wooden door had been cleft in 2. His skin was cleft with deep lines. Come, came, come. Doctors believe prevention is better than cure when it comes to in-flight health. The shed comes in sections that you assemble yourself. Did you come to gloat? They pleaded with her to come home again. I remember when you used to come to these games as a little shaver with your dad. He doesn't mince words when it comes to giving his opinion about the new law. What goes around comes around. Pilgrims come from far and wide. If the present glacial comes, it will be the real disaster. I wonder if in years to come I will look back and rue an opportunity missed. They come up with a last-ditch scheme to resurrect a dead hero. To come to terms with this tragic situation we have all found ourselves in. He beckoned for his men to come up the gangplank onto the ship. Cats will groom themselves, and this allows loose hair to come off the pet. Butterflies, moths, hummingbirds, and other pollinators will come for the banquet too. I told him that I couldn't come to the party, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. An anomaly that has existed in the service for decades has come to the fore. We knew a rainy day would come sooner or later. Hard to come by cheap flights. For many mystery cults, salvation was to come from a person's association. It was a society in turmoil, and he was trying to come to grips with it all. She knew that the ordeal to come would tax all her strength. The sort of junk that might come in handy one day. If you come to an obstruction in a road, you can seek to circumvent it. They come up with a last-ditch scheme, which is to resurrect a dead hero. What brings you to this nape of the woods? How come you're here? They wanted me to come along for the ride, but I took a rain check. Back in the day, he'd had one of the greatest minds I'd ever come across. When I got a flat tire, I had to wait for my boyfriend to come and help me, like a true damsel in distress. Badger is not considered dangerous for humans. They are extremely reluctant to come in contact with humans. I keep meaning to come down here and clear up. Why don't you come over? Look in on me when you come by the hospital. He forewarned us of events yet to come. Final confirmation has yet to come. The best is yet to come. She had the decency to come and confess. When did Dreamweaver come out? A chance like this doesn't come along every day. What's bred in the bone will come out in the flesh. Do exes come back after a rebound? A priest in green vestments came and preached a long sermon. She came slinking wearing slick silk. When the bill came, they knocked off £600 because of a little scratch. The fox came slinking through the bracken. The financial means to pursue these objectives came from benefactors' bequests. The train came puffing in. A sly glint came to his eye then, as if he was about to say something mischievous. The new year came and went without the usual fluster and bustle of activity. She came over to pick up her things. British forces never came to grips with the enemy. Girls were outstripping boys when it came to winning a university place. She came downstairs in a series of flying leaps. When he came in and saw the mess, he blew his stack at us. She came closer, her skirt swaying and rustling. The job came like a bolt from the blue. The waterboard came and dug the cable up. As the sheep came on board, we grabbed their long shaggy fleeces. He decided to lie low for a while after the report came out. A gallant gentleman came over and kissed my hand. They came coasting down the hill on bicycles. I came across these old photos recently. I did my best but came in last but won in the race. The news came as a crushing blow to the cast. Traffic came to a standstill. He had come on the pretext of bidding her farewell. He had come to vent his rage and despair. In my wandering through second-hand bookstores, I have come across some unusual tomes. He'd always come across as a decent guy. Cost, cost, cost. Spermicide can cost around $10 a kit. Studios sleeping 2 people cost £70 a night. The CEO's off-the-beam plans ended up costing the company nearly $500 million in lost revenue. The argument falls down when you look at how much it'll cost. Each issue of the magazine costs £1. Kind words are worth much and cost little. The decorators are going to cost up the work tomorrow. It also costs a fraction of what it would cost you to have a professional car scratch repair. If you want to own an island, it'll cost you. What did it cost? Driving at more than double the speed limit cost the woman her driving license. Repairing the roof cost me over $5,000. Errors cost us dear. The holiday cost them over £2,000. The chair on which I sat cost me $80. It would have cost $100 if you had purchased it online. The tickets that would have cost me 10,000 miles yesterday, are costing me 20,000 miles today. Had he bought 5 more books for the same amount, each book would have cost him $1 less. It would have likely cost upwards of $20 million to generate a finished human genome. Creep, crept, crept. He creeps me out when he gets drunk, freaks me out. They were taught how to creep up on an enemy. An anonymous note like that would creep me out. The fog was creeping up from the marsh. Doubt has to be creeping in. Gas prices have been creeping up for a while. He tried to stay calm, but you could hear the anger creeping in. Gas prices have been creeping up for a while. Thorny roses crept up the dull grey walls. He crept downstairs, hardly making any noise. He hated how his uncle crept up silently on him, it was both eerie and uncanny. Errors crept into his game. He crept downstairs, hardly making any noise. Errors crept in as the text got longer. An angry tone crept into her voice. They crept up on their rivals and overtook them. Fear crept over me as I walked through the graveyard. No one noticed that the little boy had crept into the room. Grammar blunders that have crept into regular English usage. Average aircraft age per flight has crept up towards 10 years. The end. Coming next. Session 05.